Hello, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond. My name is Taylor. Welcome back to the OverAchievers Podcast, episode 35, The Threads of Fate. Joining me today is a very special guest and semi-co-host at times. Please help me welcome John.
It's John, hooray.
Hooray for John.
Hooray for John.
So, part of the reason I mention occasional co-host is because he's actually going to be hosting the podcast for me today, as I have tried asking myself questions and answering them, and it does not go well.
Have you tried that? It didn't.
It was, I think, 11. When I tried the Mafia franchise, it was bad.
Oh, okay, right.
Like Mafia's 1 and 2, and it's just... I want to remake that episode at some point, but I'm waiting for Mafia the Old Country to come out, and then just do like a big combined thing, but I haven't just gotten around to it yet.
That's a good idea. Okay, well, let me know if you want me to host that one as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to solo host that.
Okay. I mean, at least you tried it and realized it didn't work.
It was awful.
That's why I'm here, to make it work.
You're here for more than just that, but it definitely helps having an experienced veteran YouTuber on the platform for more than a decade at this point to co-host this podcast.
Oh my god. I think at the time of recording, it's literally the channel's anniversary.
Wait, today?
I think so. Whoops.
Well, that is incredible.
Happy anniversary.
We should be recording a 10-year or whatever anniversary episode, and he's just, he's here on a podcast.
What is this? This is the 12-year anniversary.
Oh my god.
Didn't put a video out or anything today. No, it just happened. Whoops. Oh well.
Smooth.
I mean, I can't really top the 10-year one, where I did like the documentary.
That's fair. Just wait for the 20-year one.
Oh my god, can you imagine? Imagine if I'm still doing this in 20 years? Doing a 20-year video? What the hell?
I mean, why not, man?
That would be wild. Like, that video, the channel could, like, vote and shit.
Okay, we should probably get on with the podcast. We'll make a podcast about your channel for the 20 year.
Okay, cool. And I'll do another documentary, maybe.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so as your illustrious host of the OverAchievers Podcast episode, what was it?
35.
That one? Holy. Episode 35.
Yeah. 3 years coming out next month. This is breaking news for both the audience and for you, John.
Holy.
I was originally planning to have you on the 3 anniversary. However, there is a very special game that has come up that my coworker Rich is working out. Is not Halo, in fact, that I think will make a perfect 3-year anniversary.
Ooh, interesting.
I will not reveal what it is on recording.
Okay. But you'll reveal it? No, I'll just find out when it comes out. I'm okay. I'm a patient
I'll tell you
man.
afterwards.
Oh, okay. So look forward to that one. After this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So this will be coming out in April. That will drop in May.
Okay. Look forward to that. But to tide the viewers and listeners over, Taylor, what game are you talking about today?
I'm going to be talking about Eternal Strands from Yellow Brick Games.
Eternal Strands? What's that?
Well, you should know. You did a video on it. Link in the description down below.
Oh, nice.
So Eternal Strands is kind of like, I don't want to say an extraction action game.
Okay, so I'm not like crazy, right? I wasn't out to lunch.
No, I do get what you were going for when you said that.
Okay.
But the basic premise is, okay, so basic story setup, magic is done by weavers who weave strands of magic together to cast spells. Hence, strands, Eternal Strands. Basically, 50 years ago, the Mage City went crazy and all magic stopped working, which meant the magical tools and things that people had started blowing up and killing people. But also, the communication devices that people used to talk to each other went down. Meaning, all over multiple countries, you have high-ranking and government officials dying from device malfunctions that then can't communicate with other countries, so everyone's assuming it's a massive assassination attempt, and massive war breaks out, and everyone hates the mages, or the weavers in this case, so they effectively become nomads. You play as a young female weaver named Bryn, who joins up with a band to explore the walled-off Mage City that has been covered by a magical, deadly fog. Some story stuff happens, you get in, and then the idea is you're trying to unravel the mystery of what happened, as well as escape the deadly fog so you can return to the rest of the world.
Okay, very, very succinct story summary. I'm really looking forward to this episode because, yeah, I bounced off the game after, like, I don't remember how long I played it for, like 4 hours or something. And then Taylor said, like, oh yeah, I'm I'm digging it. And then like, I think like 5 days later, Taylor's like, I got all achievements.
Yeah, honestly, it was definitely a quicker turnaround than I was expecting.
Yeah.
But my friend Rich played this. It's on Game Pass, by the way, show for Game Pass. I do feel like the game doesn't have a very welcoming introduction, and it can certainly, I could see it turning players off for sure. But if you're able to get past that, I think the systems aren't as egregious or as aggressive as they seem. So basic gameplay, you go to an area, you break down like trees and rocks. This is not Minecraft, it's not Fortnite. To get basic resources, but the biggest thing is you're destroying monsters and stuff to get those more rare resources to then either craft better armors or improve your camp.
Right. So yeah, it's sort of extraction shooter.
Yeah, you get very limited inventory space at the beginning to force you to come back more often, but that honestly goes away pretty quickly if you focus on your camp upgrades, and then you can go out for much longer journeys and just kind of deal with a few more complex mechanics.
So I did actually play a fantasy extraction shooter a few days ago. And I was like, when I was playing it, I was like, hey, maybe I wasn't totally out to lunch on Eternal Strands, because they were pretty similar.
That's true. Was it Dark and Darker that you were playing?
No, it was the new one. Really awful name as well. Legacy, Steel, and Sorcery.
Oh, I've heard about that. Yeah, I never played that yet.
It's not for me, but it was okay.
All right, then. I will say the positive thing about Eternal Strands is that it is not one that's heavy on survival elements. So there's a couple weather-based elements that I'll get into, but in terms of like food and stamina and stuff like that, like that's non-existent. It's basically a Souls-like with a little bit of a more colorful palette and less bosses.
Yeah. I mean, like in my video, I said it literally took bits and pieces of probably like a dozen different games. Did you find that was accurate?
Yeah, I would say so. It's definitely like what attracted me to this game in the first place is that it is done by former BioWare developers who left during the production of Anthem, so they weren't a part of that, which I do appreciate. And I mean, I used to be a BioWare diehard. They have they're not what they used to be. Couldn't even touch Veilguard. I could not bring myself to do it. But I think for the first game from like a smaller indie studio, from a team of veteran developers, they looked at what was popular, what was working, cobbled together in a way that worked for them. But yeah, I do think they were definitely, I don't want to say trend chasing, but they were seeing what was popular and trying to implement a bit of that to make sure their first game did have some traction.
Yeah, I wouldn't say trend chasing, because like, I mean, Breath of the Wild is like 6-7 years old or something. Like that's not like a modern trend anymore. But yeah, I do think they cobbled together bits and pieces, and it definitely reminded me of Veilguard as well, which I did play. Okay, so yeah, I think that sums up the story and the gameplay. How many achievements does this one have?
So this one falls a little short, I would say, of our average. It does come in about 44 achievements on Game Pass.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty close to our average, I think.
Yeah.
Apart from some of the weird outliers.
I will get that average.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm interested in that. I assume this was your first time playing it.
Yeah, so like I said, I'd been keeping my eye on this game for a while. When I saw it was gonna be on, I was like, okay, I wishlisted on Steam, but then like not even a week before it came out, it was like, oh, it's gonna be a Game Pass day one drop. I was like, let's go. Installed it, tried it out, was like, okay, it's not too bad, and then kept playing. I was like, you know what, I enjoy this, I like it. It's a pretty simple gameplay loop, which I think I really enjoyed. And then I was like, you know what, the achievements don't require a lot, so I'm just gonna go for it.
So you didn't go into it being like, right, I'm gonna get all achievements in this. It's just part way through, you're like, I'm enjoying this, I'll look at the achievements and then just go for them.
Yeah, that was a big one. The other thing that, and this is weird, for somehow Far Cry motivated me to get all achievements in this, because for a long time none of the Far Cry games on Steam had available Steam achievements. But in recent times, around when this game dropped, January 28th, Far Cry and Ubisoft added Steam achievements for the Far Cry games. So basically, I had reinstalled some of the Far Cry games, got like the achievements that I had already achieved while playing them, and then got a couple extras that I hadn't gotten around to. But I'm like, you know what? I haven't actually gotten all achievements in a game for a little while here. Maybe let's see if there's something I want to do that for, and just Eternal Strands kind of scratched that itch.
Okay. Yeah, that's true, because when I did my Kunitsugami episode. Like, neither of us really had anything to talk about until I finished that game off.
Yep.
So yeah, interesting that neither of us have really done all achievements for a while.
Yeah.
I assume you have not gone back to the game because you finished it, what, like 2 or 3 days ago?
5 days ago, I think, according to Game Pass. Hang on, let me double check. It was either 4 days or 5 days.
Okay.
No, I have not gone back. I likely will not go back. There's a slew of other games on Game Pass that I'm looking forward to playing. Shill. But also, it's got a lot of replayability to a point.
Okay.
And I'm happy with what I've done, and I don't need to keep going.
Does it have replayability?
In my opinion, yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I don't know. I don't know if, like, once you've done the story, it's like, you're done. You can't go back.
Well, it's one of those things where it has, like, the end game, and you can kind of keep repeating the gameplay loop.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
But I'll get more into that in just a little bit.
Okay. So I'm interested about this one. How long did it take you?
So, it took me about a total of 33.5 hours. Now, some of that was me just, like, pausing, going and doing something else, or stuff like that, just I've been a little bit busy. And this is one I don't mind just pausing, putting down for a second to go do dishes, go put away laundry, something like that.
Okay.
So I would chalk that up to maybe 1 or 2 hours. I don't want to, like overinflate, be like, oh, no, I could do this in 12 hours. But it's interesting, too. Game Pass does put on how long to beat statistics.
Oh, like in the UI?
Yeah, on the game page.
Oh,
so, for example, main story says 18 hours, main plus extra is 27 hours, completionist is 45 hours.
Wow, so you really got that under the average.
Yeah, so I don't know. I could see why it comes in at, like, the main plus extra is 27 hours. The 45 to me seems a little overblown.
Yeah.
But I don't know what went on there. I have some guesses, but I'll get to that later.
This is also, like, probably one of the newest games that, like, we've talked about on a podcast. Like, I don't know, but, like, the length of time between it releasing and recording this podcast episode is not that much.
Like 3 weeks?
So yeah, that is pretty small.
Yeah.
I think we've done a couple of other ones that were pretty close, but I don't know. I just would not be surprised if that 45 hours doesn't drop a fair bit as more and more people play it. Like, I assume
just gets more refined.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody can put 30 hours in 3 weeks. So maybe there are people who are working on doing 100%, but they're just not getting enough in per day to get there yet. But yeah, people put their stats in more, and I imagine that number will probably be quite different in like a year.
That's fair. Yeah, I would be curious to see how that changes. Even the next, like, 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, wow. Yeah, 3 weeks ago. Okay, so...
That was bad when you say it like that.
What were the hardest and easiest achievements?
So, the easiest one I just kind of go for a gimme here because there's just a couple that I want to talk about later, and a lot of these are just very story related, so I did go with the easiest being Parting the Veil, which is just you literally part the veil, you get in through the magic fog, and now you're trapped in the magic city. Story related, super easy. You have to do a tutorial boss fight against the Ash Peak Drake. I'm sure you would have seen that in John's video. So yeah, it's super simple. I will be including John's video because it does have some story stuff, and then I'll be including footage from me just doing miscellaneous boss hunts because that's kind of the core gameplay loop, especially after you beat the story.
Okay, my video footage is like very like chopped up, so it won't be a like smooth gameplay.
And that's where mine's more going to come in, is just like the smoother gameplay of just you see the fight all the way through, and then you see what you can do with those materials afterwards.
Okay.
So it's not going to be like big spoiler heavy. It's not going to be big story heavy. Just because I do want to leave some of those details to the player to experience.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
As for the hardest achievement, this one it's really funny because it's in no way related to combat, which I think almost gives it just it's on the back foot immediately. It's called Bibliophile.
Bibliophile.
This
okay.
is Bibliophile, which is just for
you're getting hot for books.
Yes, it's for getting all of the lore entries.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty standard achievement.
Yeah, so the thing with this one is, like, you go around the world, you find these glowing things, and suddenly, oh, there's you pick up the glowing thing, and then when you have enough of them, you can go back to your lore keeper lane, and basically, here's all the things. Please put this together in a codex for me, and then done. You have that codex entry. So you just need to collect all, I think it's 127 little, like, things to make your codex entries.
It's not terrible.
No, it's not terrible by any means. It's just more tedious than anything.
Interesting. I can't remember how that system worked, but you find glowing things out in the world, and like that's a lore entry.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
They're just like little gold glowing orb things.
Did you find most of them like naturally, like through your playthrough, or did you like not bother and then just look up a guide for them later?
So I will say this: I did look up a guide. I would say I found at least 50 to 60% on my own because
it's pretty good.
Some of them are like, you explore a little bit and you'll find them. You go off the beaten path a little bit, you'll find them. Some of them are story related, which is fine. Then there are some others that are just really annoying to find. You're like, how would I have figured this out?
Oh, really?
Which is why I put it as the hardest, because you could find 90% of them with light exploration.
Okay.
That last 10%, and there are some specific ones I'm going to call out, are ones that you either need specific powers for, or you would never think to look in these locations.
Okay. I want to hear about a couple of these really tricky ones then.
Oh, God. I have that for a different achievement.
Oh, okay.
I will talk about that because there are 2 achievements related to the lore and that kind of stuff, which is why it's kind of split up among these 2 questions.
Okay, I am interested to hear those. Because, like, for the most part, you'd think, like, you'd just be able to stumble across most of them. Mm-hmm. Very interesting they would really tuck some of them away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so outside of those 2, what were the most and least fun?
So, it was kind of hard deciding the most fun because I will say a lot of them do kind of, I don't want to say blend together, but are either story related or just related to, hey, kill a certain boss. So they become kind of generic at some point. I wanted to put in a bunch of companion achievements because you get an achievement for finishing companion quests, but I couldn't pick which one I wanted the most. So I did go with Home Sweet Home, which is just fully upgrading your camp because you see your friends, these people that you're going with, get new facilities, get, a new place to really establish themselves. I thought it was really nice. Again, they have fantastic companion writing, but I liked seeing our campsite grow, seeing everyone improve and get better with their skills as I was able to bring back more materials.
And you can actually see it like physically change and improve in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, that's
so I can't remember how much footage you have, John, of the camp in your game, like in your video.
Maybe like 30 seconds.
Yeah, so there'll be a bit, and I might even try a new game on mine, just to show you what the camp looks like at the beginning versus what it will look like at the end of the game once you've upgraded everything.
Oh, that's a cool idea, yeah. I love details like that where you can like see like your home base grow and expand over time.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
And the nice thing too is every member of the camp has their own specific workstation where they can provide you with a particular gameplay benefit or gameplay mechanic.
And like their stations also get improved and look nicer over time.
Yeah, so that's what gets improved is like their stations, because you don't really, the whole idea is you're meant to be like this roaming nomad group. You don't really have a home, but in upgrading, you don't quite build a home per se, but you build a place where they can feel more comfortable.
Right. Yeah. Does your tent get spruced up at all?
Yes, it does.
Love that.
Because your tent is very sparse at the beginning.
Yeah.
And you can't upgrade your tent individually, but as you upgrade the camp, your tent then gets upgraded alongside it.
That's very cool. I like that. I am just a sucker for like player housing in games. Even something as simple as a tent. I'm all about that.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's cool. I like that. Okay, so that was most fun. So what about least fun?
So the least fun, this is gonna vary person to person. Now, I will admit, I did not cheat per se, but I used a glitch because this achievement can be really hard.
Hell yeah.
So this is called snowshoes. Now, with snowshoes, you have to bind an Archon's So Archons are like giant walking robot things. You have to bind their arms and legs using ice magic. Now, there's a particular ice spell that you can bind, as in, like, you know, you make a trail of ice. John, you've used the spell in the tutorial. When you upgrade it, it's stronger. The problem is getting their arms and legs restricted to the ground or to each other before they break the ice themselves.
Right. Okay.
It is just such a pain. I tried for a good half an hour, could not get it. I looked up how to get this achievement, and I did use a couple guides that I'll if I remember, I'll link down below. I've forgotten to link a couple guides.
Oh no.
But there is a way to do it where if you kill one of the bosses, one of the Archons, specifically the Archon of the Stricken Earth, and his body, you know, falls to the ground, you can then ice his arms and his hands and feet to the ground after he's dead, and the achievement will pop.
That's hilarious.
So, like I said, I did use a glitch. I don't know how much longer this glitch will be applicable for, if the developers are going to choose to patch out or not. But it is something to keep in mind if you do go for all achievements. I would recommend, when you fight the Archon of the Stricken Earth, he's a mandatory fight. Kill him, hopefully in a flat area. Quickly bind his hands and feet to the ground with ice, and hopefully the achievement pops for you early in the game, so that you don't, like, get through most of it and then you're struggling with this last one, especially if they patch out the freeze the dead Archon.
Yeah. I mean, you tried to do it legit for half an hour, and, like...
I did.
It wasn't working because of, like, RNG, pretty much, right? Like, his arms, his limbs weren't in the right position at the right time.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally don't blame you for doing a little glitch one there. It will be very interesting to see if they patch that. Or if they're like, yeah, we know this achievement's kind of dumb and really up to chance. Here's a sneaky workaround.
Yeah, I don't know what the intended method for it is, because I watched another one. Again, a big shout out to Maka's guides for this one. I'm not going to talk about the achievements they helped me get, but they did help me get a lot of them. I will link their channel as well. They showed a video of them doing it with a different Archon, and like how you could do it. So like there was video evidence of it being able and possible to be done. But I don't know, again, it was more that RNG, that chance that you get certain attacks, that you can line up your magic well, and just a lot needs to go right for it to happen in that circumstance.
Was it basically to get both arms, or sorry, like both hands and both feet stuck to the ground all at once?
So you need to immobilize both hands and feet at the same time, regardless if that's to the ground or to like its body.
Ugh.
But it does have to be all at once. Yes.
That sounds hard, because like it's big.
It is.
Like it's a large fella. Like the whole point is you climb all over it to kill it. I mean, like you have good range with the ice magic, but yeah, I don't know. That sounds very, very tedious.
Yeah. No, it was not fun.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
I even tried it because you can also do it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just understandable why that's the least fun.
Yeah, and you can try it with some of like it also says with the great living creatures, like one of the bosses that is not an Archon. But even that just wouldn't trigger for me. Or sorry, no, there's a separate one with the great living creature, but that was also just a pain. Not as much as this one though.
Oh, so it had to be an Archon? Cuz I'm thinking like the Drake or whatever, like it has all its limbs on the ground anyway, like it might be easy to stick them all to the ground.
So there's a separate one for freezing the Drake or like a living creature to the ground.
Okay.
But then this one is Archon specific, immobilizing arms and legs.
Right. Okay. So yeah, it has to be an Archon then. Interesting.
It's a pain.
It sounds like a pain. Okay, what is the rarest achievement? And this is probably going to vary over time because the game's been out for 3 weeks.
So I don't honestly think this is going to vary in terms of, because it's actually one I've already mentioned, which is Bibliophile.
Oh yeah, that's probably always going to be the rarest one.
Again, a lot of things are out of the way. I did use a guide to find them. I will link that channel as well. And there's so many things where I'm like, I could do this, or I could just be like, okay, I've done everything else. I can just put it down. I'm good. But I'm like, you know what? It did take me definitely a good hour or two to get them, because again, just having to traverse the area. The guide that I used kind of jumped around, which also wasn't the most fun, but that's more of a subjective thing. But yes, people are not going for all those codex entries, and I don't blame them, because there's not really a gameplay benefit to those.
Right, just if you really love the lore in the world and you want to learn more about it in game, I guess. So was this collectible like easy to track what you'd already got and what you still needed to get? If that question makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. You could always open your map and you could look up, okay, you could see how many you've collected and how many were left, but you didn't know specifically which ones you had collected versus which ones you didn't.
Okay.
So you could see, okay, I have like 5 left. That doesn't mean you could identify where those 5 were.
Right, okay. That's always such a pain of trying to do a blind playthrough and then partway through deciding, oh, I will try and get all achievements. Then you like look up like a collectible guide and it's like, I have no idea which ones of these I've already got. And like you follow the guide and go to the location and there's nothing there and you're like, oh, I guess I must have had this one. But so it's one of those where there's no like real indicator. Like if you're looking at a guide, you just have to be like, I think I got this one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's nothing outside of going to that location and seeing, okay, is it there?
Yuck. I mean, that's pretty standard. And like, it's just, I always like wishfully think like, oh, it'd be nice if, you know, there was some kind of indication, like if you like go into like your codex entries, it's like, oh yeah, this one's like number 21. And I can go like look at the guide and be like, oh yes, I must have already got number 21 or something like that.
Yeah, so it's interesting because so there is something like that in codex where you can see what is missing, like by the title of the codex entry.
Okay.
Meaning, and based on the guide that I looked up, it is based on like codex entry title, so you can jump around via that.
Okay.
So there is, I guess, more of a system that I'm giving it credit for. It doesn't tell you the location, but it does tell you the title, meaning you can look up that title and figure out, okay, where is that specific codex entry going to be?
Okay, that's much better than it sounded like, and than a lot of other games are.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so you think that will stay the rarest, and you think it should be the rarest?
Yeah, I do, because it's not related to like the main mechanics of the game. It's not related to your day-to-day activities. It's more like secondary, and a lot of people just aren't going to follow that. It's not as fun, it's not as engaging. They just want to hunt big monsters with a stick.
Yeah, and like there's no like character or like stats or weapon benefit to doing that at all.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. You're right. That's probably not going to change if it's been 3 weeks or 3 years. Okay, what was the most memorable achievement?
So this one's really interesting, and I'm going to put gameplay of this on screen. I need to remind myself of that. It's called Matter Over Mind. Now, basically, it's the achievement to defeat an Archon without using any weapons. So, you get 3 weapon types in the game: Sword and Shield, Greatsword, and Bow and Arrow. There is 4 of each, because there's the Regular, there's the Flame, Frost, and Gravity. Because those are the 3 types of magic you have in the game.
Right.
Basically, the idea with this one is you use Mage Hand, or like you kind of use the Force. So it's the first gravity spell you get from. No, it's not the first one. It's the second. No, it is the first.
The first one's like the pull and push kind of thing.
Yeah, so it is the first one, gravity spell you get from defeating the Archon of Stricken Earth. Once you level that up to level 3, now you level it by defeating the boss that gave you that magic, so you have to defeat the boss 3 times total. Anyway, once you get that to level 3, you can run up to that exact same boss. You can rip off his chest armor, and then I did this very late game, so I had another spell that can like tunnel me and fling me. So basically, you rip off his chest armor, you fling yourself to the locust point, and then you just pull out his magic heart, and then he dies.
Oh, okay.
Because that is how bosses work, or can work. So you have 2 ways of killing a boss. 1, you just keep hitting them until their health goes down to 0. Or 2, you go to their locust point and you pull out their magic strand. You basically rip out their mana heart, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Now this is the first boss that you actually defeat in the game, the Archon of the Stricken Earth. And it was just so interesting being able to just run up, rip off his chest armor, fling myself onto his chest, and just pull out his heart within 30 seconds.
That's great, because yeah, I think like, I mean, like, I fought that boss, and like it's a really cool boss, and like when I fought it, you crawl all over and you knock its armor off and attack its skin until you've done enough damage that you can expose its chest. And like, I mean, that fight can take like minutes. So yeah, that's great that you can just at the end of the game go bam, bam, dead.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna do it in the video with no armor just to show how easy it is. But I just think it's really interesting to have that tangible player progression. I can see how much I've improved, maybe not necessarily in skill with this particular fight, but how much my powers have actually grown to be able to do this.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
So yeah, that was definitely a very memorable one to be like, okay, I used to not struggle with this guy, but I did struggle with some bosses, and now I can just absolutely annihilate them.
Now I can use force powers and just kill him from a distance.
Yeah.
Sick. Is there any achievement that you would remove from the game?
So this is the one where I was talking about where there's some not so fun codex entries.
Okay.
Because this one is called Reigning Champion. Now, Reigning Champion, you have to collect 7 specific codex entries that are basically either on the highest rooftop in the map or literally floating in midair. So they're ones you can't get without certain gravity spells, and you have to like basically fling yourself past it, grab it on the way, and then hope you don't... Well, you could die after you land, that's fine, but you have to make sure you grab it midair. Otherwise, you gotta fling yourself again.
Interesting. So there's just some...
Why they're in midair, I have no idea.
Yeah, aren't they? They're literally codex entries. Why are they floating in the air?
Yeah, I have no idea.
So these are basically specific codex entries that are completely inaccessible until you've progressed far enough to get specific powers.
Yes.
Okay.
One of which comes from the final boss of the game. And so, like, you need that codex to help you get to Bibliophile, which is all codex entries, but there is a specific achievement for completing these particular codex entries as well, which is why I would remove this particular one, so I could remove just those codex entries, where I think there's 7-ish, because the rest of them are fine. The rest of them are okay.
Yeah.
But these ones suck.
And like, don't you need those 7 for the Bibliophile achievement anyway?
Yeah, and that's why if I remove them and then still make Bibliophile accessible without them, Bibliophile would be so much better.
But like, even if you like couldn't remove those entries, like this is kind of a pointless achievement because you have to get those ones for the other achievement anyway, right?
Also true.
What a weird achievement.
Yeah, it was a strange one. It does have, like, it does fit in terms of like the lore and the context, but it's just like, it's just also just a very odd decision.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've seen anything like that. It would be like in like Dark Souls, like getting all miracles, but like, oh, what if you just got like these 3 miracles? That's an achievement, but you still need to get all the miracles. Or like you got all
the miracles that this one NPC uses, so you get that achievement.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I that's weird. I don't know if I've seen that. I'm sure it's been in other games, but yeah, I can't remember seeing something like that.
Have no idea.
Weird. That's a weird one. Yeah, get rid of that. Get rid of that achievement as a whole.
Yep.
Is there an action or way of playing that you think there should be an achievement for?
Honestly, not really. If I had to make one, I would say, I'm not sure if you remember this, John. In the intro fight scene with the Ash Peak Drake, you're able to freeze over its mouth to stop it from breathing fire.
Right, yeah.
You can do that in-game, which I think is awesome. I think it's great where if you see something in a cutscene, you're able to replicate that in-game, and, it allows for more player freedom and creativity. Mm-hmm. I think if you did that, it should be an achievement like, I did the thing, or like he said the thing, like, you just, and like I did the thing that was in the cutscene.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So, like, it's something simple, but it's a callback to say, hey, if you see it in the cutscene, you can probably do it in-game.
And it would be like, oh, you were paying attention to the cutscene, you saw that this worked in the cutscene, so you, like, mimicked it in-game and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I like that. Okay, are you able to soft lock yourself out of any achievements?
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
There are certain dialogue options that are, like, I don't want to say bad. You can't go renegade in this game. But you can't lock yourself out of any companion quests. You can't lock yourself out of the main story. Every boss is infinitely refightable. So yeah, there's nothing here that's gonna be like, no, you can't achieve this now.
And like, you can always go back and visit like the earliest level at any point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're never locked out of the levels.
No.
And yeah,
there are certain story beats where you are, but like those are very temporary.
Okay. And yeah, like you can, if you want, you can just kill like that first boss like 20 times if you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's cool. So yeah, that sounds like it'd be pretty difficult to to block yourself out of getting any achievement.
Yeah.
I assume I know the answer to this one, but how many times do you need to play it to get all achievements?
Only once.
That's kind of what I assumed. There's no multiple endings or anything?
Nope, there's one ending. Then there's only one ending achievement. You can replay, like I said, you kind of in this I don't want kind of end game sequence of just replay the bosses you want. The way it works is every day is split up into 3 sections: morning, afternoon, and night. And every time there's a new cycle, every time there's a new like time of day or a new day in general, it will cycle through. Okay, what bosses are in what area? There's always one boss per area, and what is the weather condition in that area? Now, this is where John started to hate it, which
yeah,
is with
it's always
weather conditions.
sunny.
Really? I didn't find it was always sunny. I found it was a mix. But those weather conditions, you, spoiler alert, get a new station at camp to be able to change the weather.
Okay. Can you make it neutral?
To whatever you want, whenever you want.
Can you make it like...
and having... Go ahead.
Can you make it, like, not sunny or not snowy?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you can make it just clear.
That's good. Because, yeah, that annoyed me.
Yeah, that's fair. I do understand it. I think it's less intrusive, but I do understand if you're kind of like traumatized by those mechanics, how it could just be a very much a turn away from this.
Yeah.
But you can really take advantage of some of those effects by having it like be sunny when you're fighting an ice-based enemy, or having it be frosty when you're fighting a fire-based enemy.
That's cool.
To reduce the damage of their attacks.
Yeah, that's nice to have that control over it.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely...
And then just get rid of miasma, because miasma sucks.
Which one was that? I don't know if I encountered that.
That was the poisonous fog clouds.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. Does the game reward you for getting all achievements?
Unfortunately not. As you're working towards getting them, you feel the rewards, you feel that sense of, hey, I did a thing. But for the achievements themselves, there is no tangible benefit.
Okay. And like, do the achievements themselves feel rewarding?
Some yes, some no. It's really a mixed bag here. Like, matter over mind. Yeah, that feels super rewarding to be like, I look at what I did.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. And then some others are just a very generic, oh, it's the story, it's the boss. Okay, cool, we're done.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, 44 is quite a lot of achievements. Like, you'd expect there to be the standard, like, kill this boss, saw, this point of the story. But you'd think there'd be some room for some more interesting ones.
There are a couple, like, for example, so there are 9 bosses, and there's 1 achievement for beating each one. I'm not sure how many story-related achievements, but there are 39 weapon and armor schematics you can craft. So there's 1 for crafting every armor schematic, not every weapon, but every armor. And there's also ones for getting specific armors with either really high frost resistance or flame resistance. So those are kind of interesting, too, because, and this is a system I kind of should have shouted out earlier, I love this game because you don't just need to make a new armor set for every encounter, you can just reforge the same armor with new materials.
Yes.
And if you level it up, like it goes from levels 1 to 5, you level your armor up to level 5. If you reforge and like you want, instead of fire protection, you want frost protection. You don't need to start back at level 1. You just need more material. You need the equivalent number of materials that you want to change to that you already have on the armor.
Okay.
So like, let's say I have 5 legendary level fire resistance materials. And I want to go over to frost. I just need 5 legendary level frost materials, and then I will get the fire materials back, and it'll use the frost ones instead.
So pretty much once you've got the materials for like a top tier fire armor and a top tier ice armor, you can literally just swap back and forth that one armor set.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Now, the armor sets not only are very visually different, I will showcase some of them. They also have, natural differences in terms of some having naturally higher ice resistance, fire resistance, max stamina, max magic regen, bonus health, bonus armor. Every armor set is designed to do different things, have a different bonus effect, and you can mix and match however many sets you want.
Right. When I quit was when I made the most icy resistant armor I could, and it still wasn't enough to avoid ice damage. I was like, I'm done.
Were you using the files?
The what?
The blue potion file.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and like I was
Okay.
fine when I had the potion on, but then like as soon as it wore off, my armor wasn't enough.
Were you using sword and shield or two-handed sword?
I think it was two-handed sword.
Okay, because yeah, I've noticed the two-handed sword is basically the only really effective weapon.
Okay. Good to know.
Which boss were you fighting?
It was the ice lizard kind of thing.
The Burning Ice Tail.
Yes, sure, yeah.
Yeah, that one. Okay, I know what you're talking about. The other thing, and this is again, I will shout out Macca's guides here for this, is there are certain conditions you need to meet to reveal their locus point. It has nothing to do with the amount of health they have remaining, though.
Okay, right.
It's like with the Ice Tail in specific, you have to burn off the fur on his head, crush the black crystals on his head, chin, back, legs, and tail, and then you have to bait out a certain attack where he slams his head in the ground and kind of knocks himself out for a minute, and then you can take his locus point.
Interesting.
But I do understand if you don't, because I didn't know how to do that at first. So I fully understand the confusion, the running around, that extra time in the frost, in the everything, which is going to make it just harder to deal with, causing a lot of frustration.
Right, because yeah, like I was doing like okay damage, but I think I got him to like 40%, and then like my ice potion wore off, and then I was just screwed,
Yeah.
and I had to like run away, and then he like got all his health back, and I was like, screw this. I didn't even have like fire magic at that point.
Okay, then yeah, it would have been really hard without fire magic.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I'm glad it gets better than how I experienced it.
Yeah, now I will be talking about that shortly as well.
Okay. How about you talk about... I forgot what one we're on. Does it feel like the devs cared about the achievements?
Yeah, I think so. They didn't put in arbitrary achievements, I would say. Like, everything feels like it has a purpose. Yes, the lore ones are a little less fun, but I still get why they put it in there. They didn't put in, oh, do this like weird trick. They're like, hey, beat these bosses, get this story, follow the companion quests, craft armor, engage with our game, engage with the systems we provided you to have a good time, and then you're done.
Yes, especially that one you were talking about earlier that like didn't really work, like trying to lock the
arms and feet.
Yeah, exactly. That's, they cared about that system enough to make it an achievement and want people to engage in the systems enough to make that happen, I guess.
They want you to get creative.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I also appreciated that there are apparently available romance options, which I didn't realize I'd screwed up 2 of them. So there's 3 available romances in the game, but it's not like, Mass Effect or Dragon Age where you see the heart option on the dialogue. You just have to pick the dialogue option that... So what I've discovered is I often went with the dialogue option that says, hey, we, like, as a group, we want to help you through this thing. Like, trying to be good friends, trying to make sure they don't feel pressured and that they know they have a big support system.
Right.
But if you go with the, I'm helping you because I care about you personally, that is apparently that is the romantic option, the romantic route that you can take with certain characters.
Okay.
And then the characters will pull you aside, and then they'll confess to you like, "Hey, I'm really interested in you. Do you want to hang out?" I don't know if there's any particular scenes for this, like there are in some BioWare games, because the one character that I did manage to romance is the one I didn't want to romance. So I was like, "Nah, I'm good, thanks, fam. We can still be friends, though. You cool?"
That's great.
And there's no achievement for like, "Hey, you need to romance somebody."
That's quite nice, actually. And it sounds like you, like, RP'd as a good, like, leader, I guess.
Yeah, so that's the other thing I forgot to talk about is Bryn is the group's point. Now, this is really weird because for the long time when I was a kid, I would watch military movies, play military games, and they would say, "Oh, you take point." And I was just like, "Okay, what is that?" I never remember it clicked in my head. The point is basically like the scout who has to go ahead of everyone, ensure they understand what dangers there are, as well as, in this case, secure supplies.
Right.
So you are a newly assigned point because the old point, your mentor, got injured by the fog, by the tangles as they're called, and so you're taking on this big responsibility as the newcomer to basically help keep the band together and keep them alive. And I wanted to, yeah, like you said, kind of create that sense of she wants to be part of the group and ensure that everyone in the group is working together, because individually liking someone is great, that's fine, that doesn't necessarily help the group cohesion if everyone likes the same person, but then they don't like each other.
Right. Especially because I think, like, Bryn is, like, fairly new to the group in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, she's only been there for, like, 6 months.
Yeah, so, like, it makes a lot more sense to be like, oh, we as a group are here for you in this trying time. Instead of like, hey, we've known each other for half a year. Let me solve all your problems, just me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way you did it, I think.
I preferred building that sense of community, like making myself feel like this was a group coming together to help each other, as opposed to, hey, you want to smash? And I mean, it was never like that explicit, but I didn't want my character to feel like they were doing something with the goal of getting a personal benefit from that other member of the band. Just like, oh, we're all here to help each other.
And like, yeah, you are in this group of different, like, professionals. Like, there's a blacksmith and, like, a tailor or whatever. And, like... Hey, Taylor. Like, there's no point in you with your limited, like, combat focus being like, yeah, I'll solve everybody's problems. When there's, like, this group of people with all these other, like, views and skills and life experiences and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. That just makes sense to me to involve everybody.
Yeah. And I mean, romances do exist in the game, in the story, because, like, the blacksmith and the tailor are a married couple.
Right, yes.
And it's really interesting, too, because there's also no species boundary, seemingly, because the blacksmith is basically a human and the tailor is basically a tiefling.
But the big yak thing's off limits, right?
Sebastian, yes, he is off limits, as is Aurea the bird lady.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting.
So yeah, you can romance Cass, Lane, or a separate character that I don't think have met yet, John.
Oh, okay. Yeah, probably not. Interesting.
I tried to romance Cass and I failed. But I'm okay with it because I was there as a friend.
Exactly, yeah. You were there as a part of the group.
I literally friend-zoned myself.
Yeah, sometimes that's for the best.
Yeah.
Do the achievements require you to get 100% in the game?
Very close, but no.
Oh,
so
okay.
you do have to get all codex entries. You do have to find and craft all the armor sets. You do not need to craft all the weapons, weirdly enough.
That is weird, actually. Is that an oversight or something?
I'm okay with it. I don't think so, because it does just say craft all available armor schematics in the game.
That's so
not
weird.
Armor and weapon. I think it's because the armors have different bonus effects, and like the weapon differences are that the bows will either do elemental damage, which can help, but it's not as important as your magic, or it just gives you a different special attack.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. You get more out of crafting all the armor than you do all the weapons.
Mm-hmm. And oftentimes you're going to use magic over your weapon special attack anyway.
Right.
So there's really no gap that it's filling.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that makes sense, I guess. Just kind of weird.
Yeah.
Do the achievements feel unique in the genre? Whatever genre this would be in?
Not really. Because again, a lot of them are basic, do the story, kill the boss, collect a couple things. Like, it's very simple, and I'm okay with that.
Okay, yeah.
And like, there's nothing that says, there is one achievement that says, hey, craft a piece of armor with nothing but legendary materials, which is fine.
Okay.
You get tiered rarity systems, and then that's going to lead to, hey, get the best of the best.
Right. Yeah, sounds, I don't know, kind of like they've got achievements from a bunch of different games.
It's very basic.
Yeah.
In a positive way, it's very basic.
Yeah, it's simple, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You already mentioned that you used some guides. Were there any other ones?
So I did use Maka's guides for finding the armor schematics as well as how to kill certain bosses. And then there was another YouTube channel, I will link both of them down below, that I used for the codex entries.
Okay. Oh, so, right, yeah, you prefer video guides, don't you?
I do. I very much need to see it happen so I can copy it exactly.
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely prefer, like, text guides with pictures over video guides.
Fair enough.
Very interesting. Has this changed the way you look at the game now?
Not really. Like, I knew what the game was relatively after starting it, and I enjoyed it. I don't regret any of it, but I do think that the codex hunting was more tedious than it needed to be.
Right. But, like, it added what you said, like an extra hour or two to your playtime.
Yeah, I would say about probably 2, yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of tedious. Like, not huge in the grand scheme of things, I guess, but a bit tedious.
I mean, it's technically almost 10% of my gameplay time.
That's sort of true. It's like 7%.
I mean, yeah, I said almost 10,
okay.
so...
Yeah, okay, fine. yeah, I guess it is a fair bit, actually.
So, I mean, and, you know, again, add in the other stuff where I was just AFK or doing others, or just not necessarily actively engaged with it. And it's just like, okay, this is fine. Like, it's not, I'm not upset about it.
Yeah.
But it could have been cut down.
Yeah. That is a lot, 127. Would you recommend other people go for all achievements?
Yes, with the caveat of using guides, and I would recommend you watch the videos on how to beat the bosses before you fight them.
Oh, okay.
Or else you're going to have the experience that John had where you could discover it organically, but I think you're going to get too frustrated with how to do it. I would also recommend not fighting an ice monster before you have fire magic, but I do understand the interest in doing that.
Yeah.
Because I think the game does a lot of things well, does a lot of things right. It does not tutorialize bosses very well in the sense that it wants you to explore and understand how they work on your own.
Yeah.
Because you can break off a lot of different parts on all different bosses. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to in order to get their locus point. And again, you can just whittle their health down to 0, but that can oftentimes be harder than just getting their magic point.
Yeah, that's what I was finding with the ice one. Like, I was in the process of doing it, but like I just didn't have the damage to fully drop his health down to 0.
Mm-hmm.
And just so I don't sound like an idiot, all the time I played it was pre-release, so like there weren't guides or anything when I was playing it.
No, I wasn't trying to make you sound any less
I didn't
intelligent by any
I
means.
just wanted to like cover my own ass at the end here.
That's fair. I get it. And I mean, I struggled too with some of these bosses. Like I was like, oh, I have to take care of all of the armor on the Archon of Stricken Earth. You don't. You need to knock off the shoulder pads and the chest, or you can just, like I said, when you get high enough gravity magic, just rip off the chest and go for it.
Yeah.
It's like I was doing so much extra that I didn't need to do that also added onto my playtime.
Right. Yeah, I think when I did that boss, my first time, I like started with the legs and like knocked off all the armor down there, and then like made my way like symmetrically knocking armor off each side. Yeah, I didn't realize you could make it like that simple.
The other thing I would recommend is use the greatsword. As soon as you get a greatsword schematic, make it, because I was using sword and shield for a while. I didn't find myself blocking a whole lot. I would often dodge attacks, and the damage output for the greatsword compared to the sword and shield is just so much greater, pun intended, that it makes it just so much more worth it to use just that.
Right, yeah. Like, it is slow, but, like, it definitely felt like a better weapon, I found.
Mm-hmm.
I was enjoying that music in the background there, by the way.
That was my washing machine.
Oh, sick. I was just dancing away.
Yeah, it plays a song whenever it's done. It's very... Korea's all about, like, their beeps and boops musical technology.
Like, my oven does a little song, or, like, a little, like, boop kind of thing, but not as fun as that. That was a bop, Taylor.
Maybe I'll record that and put it in the video. No, I won't.
I think it'll be picked up.
It might.
I think it'll already be there. Okay, well, those are all the questions I had, Taylor. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to talk about.
Not really. I mean, I will always shill for Game Pass because it has provided immense value to my personal gaming experience. I know it's not for everyone. John has repeatedly called me a shill, which I'm okay with.
Well, you are a shill, to be fair.
I'm not arguing that. I just wish they would sponsor me. I've been trying so hard.
That'd be cool. That'd be nice.
It would
you
be.
Deserve it.
I would absolutely love that. But no, in all seriousness, I think Eternal Strands is a great gameplay experience. I would highly recommend it for anyone who just wants a nice, simple, straightforward game. I could see people not liking it, if you don't understand it, and that's perfectly fine. They don't do a great job of tutorializing, but if you put in just a little bit of, hey, watch this video and understand it, I think you'll have a great time. And by all means, please recommend games that you would like to see on the channel. I do have some interesting episodes planned for the next couple months, one of which being a game that I wanted to do all achievements in, but I couldn't bring myself to do it, that is one of the most well-known RPGs of all time.
Interesting.
And then I have some other games that are not as famous, maybe more infamous. Hint, hint.
Infamous on PS3.
Technically, I have a coworker who I actually apparently have not told about the podcast for the last 6 months, even though I have told him about the channel, because I'm just, that smart, who has the entire Infamous franchise, so that will be an episode certainly coming out a few months from now.
Damn, I need to check my Infamous 1 achievements, because I think I did like a fair few. I played that game like 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Loved that game.
So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, so much for being here, so much for watching and listening. Thank you, John, for being here once again and hosting.
My pleasure. Always a blast, even if I'm not talking about a game. I still like doing this.
Well, I really appreciate that. Stay tuned for the very, very special 3-year anniversary, and for the many great games we have coming up in the future. If there's any games you want to see us cover, or if there's any games that you might want to talk about, leave that in the comments down below. I am open to potentially opening up, a dialogue and having someone from the audience come on. That will be a long process of me, talking with you, figuring out, okay, do our schedules line up? Am I okay with having you on the channel? So, if you're interested, throw that in the comments, and I will see what I can do. With all that being said, we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!
Bye!